Hello, beautiful soul family. Rebecca here, your vibe mentor. Have you ever felt like life is just hard? Like no matter how much effort you put in, things are just not flowing. Maybe you wake up with the sun, you eat the right food, you move your body, and you're diligent with your daily meditation and your trauma spotting practices. But as soon as you sit down at your desk, you lose all of that beautiful energy that you created and you fall right back into those subconscious patterns of daily hustle and grind, stress, worry, pushing, and trying to make things happen. But instead of momentum and progress, you feel sluggish and tired and like you're pushing a boulder up a hill. Then it is likely that you are living out of sync with life's natural rhythms. When we learn to live with the natural rhythm of life, we unlock flow and abundance. So I want to share with you today a few ancient rhythm secrets to maximize your energy and alignment. Because when we learn how to flow, we regain our energy and we find that precious alignment that allows us to shift into a life that works for us instead of against us. So if you wake up feeling exhausted after a full night's sleep, and you're doing all of the right things, but you're still hitting those roadblocks, you're still feeling frustrated or burnt out or anxious, and you're still trying to figure out why aren't things clicking for me, then you may have even wondered, is there something wrong with me? If you do have those thoughts of what's wrong with me, I'm not good enough, I can never seem to make it happen, then know that that is an indication of unhealed trauma, and you do need to work with the body to heal that. But regardless of your stage of healing, you can always step into living more aligned with life's rhythms. And the good news is there isn't anything wrong with you. You're not broken. You're just out of sync with the natural rhythm of life. You see, the seasons and rhythms don't just apply to the weather. There are natural rhythms in a day and in a week and in a month. And you even have your own personal rhythms and cycles. And when you realign to work with those rhythms, you will have more energy. You will find more synchronicities that are guiding you, making life more easy and effortless. You will move with creativity and clarity instead of overthinking. And you stop pushing and detach so that you can start to manifest with ease. Now, think about the times when everything just clicked for you, when opportunities appeared at the perfect moment, when things unfolded effortlessly, and when you felt inspired and alive and deeply present in your life, passionate about life even. That's what happens when you are in the flow. Now contrast that with the times when nothing seemed to be working, when you felt like you were swimming against the current upstream, exhausted, fatigued, frustrated, and blocked. Notice the difference in your energy and notice how maybe you were clinging and forcing and trying to manipulate or make things happen. That's what happens when we are in resistance to life's rhythms. The good news is this is something that you can change today. Flow is not random. It is a rhythm. There's a pattern, a way of moving through life that ancient wisdom, neuroscience, and even modern success strategies all point to as the key to energy, alignment, and abundance. I used to think that I had to force my way through success. Hustle and grind was my way of living. And if I pushed hard yesterday, I was going to push even harder tomorrow. It was almost as if it was a badge of honor to be able to push through and ignore the pain, to suppress my desires, and to work against any resistance. And for a while, it worked until it didn't. And instead of success, I was burnt out. I was frustrated and anxious and confused, and I felt bad about myself until I found somatic healing. And I finally realized that I wasn't broken. I was just out of sync. And so I started researching. Of course, I'm skipping through the very significant years of trauma healing that led me to understand why I pushed and hustled and grind. That nervous system state of perpetual hypervigilance kept me constantly in resistance to life in general. But even after that healing, there still were neural pathways to reset and rhythms that I needed to fall into or understand consciously because I had not been taught those things as a child. And when I discovered circadian rhythms and even the daily rituals and habits of my American Indian ancestors, I started to understand why I was feeling tired and depleted and out of sync by the end of each day. I also started to understand astrology and the cycles of the planets. And the moment I started to listen to life's natural rhythms instead of resisting them, everything started to change. My energy started to come back, creativity started to flow, and life was working with me instead of feeling like an uphill battle by the end of each day. Instead of grabbing a coffee when I was tired at 2 p.m., I took a nap instead. Instead of ignoring my hunger because it wasn't the right time to eat, instead I listened to my body and I got a healthy snack. Instead of forcing myself to work 12 hours a day, I honored the natural peaks and valleys of the day and started to flow with them, actually becoming more productive. I used to be so proud of my ability to go without or to suppress my needs, but no longer do I wear that as a badge of honor. So then the question becomes, how are you out of sync and how do you shift into flow? Here are 3 things that you can do right now. 1, stop forcing and start listening. Honor those moments of discomfort or friction or frustration or fatigue and pay attention to where you are feeling that resistance. When you are ignoring how you're feeling and you're trying to force yourself to do something different, you are ignoring the signals that could point to how you can step back into flow and alignment, of course, leading to more abundance. Step 2 is honor your natural cycles. Your energy, your creativity, and your clarity moves in ways, and you have to understand how that might be different for you. Be careful not to should all over yourself. Only you know what is right for you. No one can tap into that internal guidance system that you have. So start to track. When do you feel energized? When do you feel tired? When do you crave stillness and quiet? When do you crave connection? Create a pie chart of your wants, needs, and desires, and start to notice which areas are you deficient in. Work with your body's natural rhythms instead of pushing against it. And step 3 is understand the cycles so that you can trust the timing, whether it's the cycles of the seasons, the cycle of the month, the cycle of a day, or your personal cycle. Once you bring that to conscious awareness, you will start to be able to settle in the understanding of it is a certain time and take actions aligned with that time. Things like winter being the time for rest and hibernation, or spring, a time for planting and sowing seeds. Summer, a time of tending and working and nurturing, and fall, a time of reaping the harvest. We can also watch the planets and notice, when are we in a significant period of retrograde that is calling for introspection and reevaluation versus a time of forward momentum and expecting progress, when we are expecting external progress and likely setting ourselves up for disappointment. Understand your daily circadian rhythms. If you are out of sync in general, understanding your daily circadian rhythm can be the quickest way to start to step into that pattern recognition of your cycle. It is also important to recognize that your brain and body can be conditioned to a certain type of response at a certain type of day, like anger and frustration at rush hour or tension when the kids come home after school. Just know that that's not necessarily part of your inherent rhythm, and it can be reprogrammed. When it comes to understanding your own personal rhythms, recognize that there are different types of people who have different types of energy at different points in the day. This is called your chronotype. You want to know, are you a lark, which is an early bird? They tend to feel most alert and energetic in the morning. Do your energy levels peak later in the day? Or are you a dove, sort of middle of the road, have more balanced energy throughout the day? So you can take your chronotype and match it to or adapt it to the general circadian rhythms. Generally, we want to rise with the sun between 5 and 8 a.m. If you use those blackout shades, open them just a crack so that you can see the light start to come in the morning. The morning is a time for awakening and connection. Some things we can do in the morning to get ourselves moving and going is hydrate. First thing, lemon water, warm lemon water if you can, maybe even a tea. Gentle movement is critical to get the body flowing, whether it's a walk or stretching or yoga. Get that first sunlight in your eyes. It helps set your body's natural clock and create more melatonin, which will help you sleep better later at night. Meditation, prayer, journaling, whatever you choose to cultivate the energy for that day. Make sure that you eat a nourishing breakfast if you choose to eat in the mornings. And in any meal that you choose, make sure it is balanced: protein, healthy fats, and fiber. And I'll offer you an indigenous insight for each time of the day as well. I feel very closely connected to my guides and my American Indian ancestors. And so pulling from some of their traditions has been very supportive for me. Many tribes will begin the day with gratitude rituals, thanking the earth, the sky, the ancestors, the divine for the gift of life in that day. I like to start with gratitude as soon as I step into consciousness, before my eyes have even opened for the day. Then late morning is between 8 and 12 p.m. This is a time for focus and creation. This is when we are at peak cognitive function. Your brain is at its best at this time of day. It's great for deep work and creativity. This is where we want to leverage flow state activities like writing, planning, and problem solving. Be sure to take movement and brain breaks every 50 minutes. It's very important to move your body. We should not be sitting stagnant for hours at a time. Take a short walk or shift into standing work. The indigenous would use this time for hunting, food preparation, and detailed craftsmanship. The midday is considered 12 to 2 p.m. is a time for nourishment and recalibration. Make your midday meal warm, grounding, and balanced. Again, protein, healthy fats, and fiber. Get more sunlight at this time of day as well. Remember, we're not just cultivating positive energy in the morning and then trying to push through the rest of the day. We want to take the day in chunks and recognize that a day is not one day, but rather many different components with different rhythms. So if you want to get more sunlight, you can eat outside, take a short walk, and again, practice gratitude. Appreciate the day so far and make sure you bless your lunch. You'll notice it's important to incorporate sunlight, movement, and some sort of gratitude practice at each point in the day. The indigenous use this time for gathering, sometimes storytelling, or even trading. Now, the afternoon between 2 and 5 p.m. is a slower rhythm, and this is where many of us have historically been forced to get off track. This is a time for rest and transition. It's almost as if we are starting a second day at this point. So take a short rest, even if it's a 5-minute power nap in your car at work. Really honor the energy of this time. The veil is thin right around 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. every day. Schedule creative, play, or lighter tasks like art or reading or music, meditation, journaling. Have a nourishing snack. Some ideas that I really love are golden milk or tea or nuts or fruit. Again, get outside, reconnect and ground with nature once you've had a little bit of rest and creativity. Take a moment to observe and breathe deeply. The indigenous actually rested in the shade, meditated, or even engaged in spiritual reflection at this time. In the early evening, between 5 and 7 p.m., we actually have a second wind. We have more energy for movement and connection with others. Many cultures would go out and connect with the community in community spaces at this time of the day. Again, physical movement is very important. Dancing, yoga, walking, strength training, it's all excellent for this time of day. But remember, social time is critical, so make sure you connect with family and friends as you do this. It can even be fun to prepare a nourishing meal together and pour love into it. Be sure to catch the sunlight and create a golden hour of gratitude and reflect on something beautiful from the day. The indigenous would gather for tribal dances, drumming, and community time. And then, of course, the night hours between 7 and 10 p.m. is a time for winding down and integrating what we experienced that day. Light a candle, dim the lights, reduce your blue lights and screens. This is really important to mimic that sunset for melatonin production and restful sleep. Journal or read stories, process the day, listen to sacred music, recite affirmations, or even do a little bit of calming breath work. You can take a bath or put on lotion to help soothe the nervous system. And try to set that boundary at 9 p.m. for no screen times for the remainder of the day. We really want to protect our circadian rhythms. And of course, the indigenous had evening ceremonies, sacred fires, and spiritual gatherings at this time of night. We certainly don't want to skip over the deep sleep hours between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. And it's at this time that our body is regenerating and, of course, dreaming, even going back home. Sleeping by 10 p.m. is critical to the detoxing and healing process that happens only if we are sleeping. Sleep in a cool, dark, and peaceful space. Practice dream recall and journaling if that resonates for you, and honor that sleep is sacred and spiritual connection time. Many cultures believe that dreams carry guidance from our ancestors, so I highly recommend it. So remember, when you master this, you are going to start to feel energized instead of drained, aligned instead of lost, and inspired instead of stuck. We want to be at peace instead of frustrated. So if you've been feeling like life is not working for you, this is your wake-up call. You are not broken. You're just out of sync. So start listening, start honoring your natural rhythms, and watch how everything starts to flow for you. Living in rhythm isn't about rigid rules. It's about listening, flowing, and honoring your energy. When you align with the natural cycles, you will no longer need to push or to numb. Life becomes easier, more vibrant, and deeply fulfilling. And if this resonates with you, just start small. Pick one ritual or one shift, and you will feel the difference. Your body, mind, and spirit are waiting to guide you home to yourself. And if you're still wondering why your manifestations are delayed or taking longer than you expected, check out this recent video I did. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share if you know anyone who could benefit from this. I'm sending you love, my beautiful soul family. Namaste.